So that's usually where we would end Audioface, but as we do every single year, we have the court packing episode, our last chance to mention albums or projects or things we liked, if we haven't mentioned them already in the podcast this year, to qualify them for the Audioface Awards. Um, Rapid fire style, Sean, you have 4 and I have 3, so I think it works out better if you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, how do you want to do that? Because I can lump all of mine together, or I can go individually one by one.
I think let's go like sort of like how we do music recs, where we go individually one by one, but like kind of relatively quickly.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm all 4 of mine are film soundtracks. So it's films I have watched, or I've listened to the soundtracks of, because some of them I am not able to watch just yet, but will be able to soon. So the first soundtrack I'm gonna talk about is Dune, the remake, and actually a very, very good remake, which is rare these days. But the soundtrack is done by Hans Zimmer, I should say, and it is fantastic. I really, really like the way. I mean, Hans Zimmer's done amazing soundtracks his entire career. I mean, you have Interstellar, you have the Batman trilogy, you have like so many works that he's done. But with Dune, it really sucks you into the film and sets it up for the way like a sci-fi world works, and you really want to be sucked in with the soundtrack too, because then it gets you into that. I wouldn't just say the vibe, but the emotions of it, the feeling of it. You really get to be feeling that this is the world, and you're not watching a film, that you're almost reading a book when you do it right. And all of these soundtracks kind of do that. But I thought the Dune one, hearing it in theaters as well, was very, very good. Was thoroughly impressed with it. I remember when I watched it the first time, I was like, "Who the hell did the soundtrack?" I'm like, look up as Hans Zimmer. I'm like, I'm like not surprised, but damn, this really left me happy. Lots of different unique sounds and stuff that he uses too. He uses a lot of bagpipes in it, which I haven't heard from Hans Zimmer before, and lots of other things to make it more of that sci-fi style and whatnot. But very, very good.
Right. I do not have soundtracks at all. I just kind of went the traditional albums route. They're totally fine. I wanted to review Illuminati Hotties at some point this year. Ultimately wasn't able to get around to it because of, Q4 being an annoying thing. But it's this one like woman's punk project, and it is another one of those like women in indie situations, specifically this subgenre of indie that's kind of like punk grunge nostalgia, like callback kind of deal. But this is like just really interesting. You have like really funny titled songs called like Joni, LA's #1 health goth, to there's a bunch of other different like oh yeah. That's a name of a song. It's pretty wild. But it's similar, punk stylings and ways of approaching music, but a newer kind of indie sounds with it as well. A lot of people had this on their top album of the year charts. I don't think I would put it there per se of like one of the best albums of the year. But if we were doing Audioface of like a ranking of 50 or so, yeah, I'd put this on there somewhere.
Yeah, that works. Next one, which I like teased a little bit that I wanted to talk about a little bit more too and go in depth of it, is Spencer, the soundtrack of the film titled Spencer by none other than Johnny Greenwood. And he has done actually 2 full soundtracks this year and 1 song for Licorice Pizza, which we talked about last week. So he's been busy. And the Spencer soundtrack is very, very well done. I think with this, it shows the best of what you can do with music in cinema. I mean, we saw it with Phantom Thread, with There Will Be Blood. Talked about Dune earlier. There's a couple other films that you really get the sense of the emotion of what a good soundtrack can do, and it can up a film for making it a good film to a great film, or a great film to an amazing film. It has that way of doing that, and the way that Spencer is done with the soundtrack, it's fantastic. You have a couple tracks. Crucifix is really well, and Johnny does something which I haven't heard from him before. He uses a harpsichord a lot of the times, because he said he wanted to make it like a jazzy-ish influenced, but also with late medieval sounds and other things. So it's very unique in the way that it's done, and it definitely gets you the somber feeling of the film, and it protrudes it in that way. And yeah, with the way it's done, you can get like a sense of what the mood of the film. Like it gets that somber feeling and it really pushes that out. Um, and when you have that in a film, it makes it like a second, as I like to say, it can almost make it a third character, a fourth character of making that soundtrack do that way. And it's fantastic when that happens. Also, the good track is the title track, Spencer. It's just a piano track, and it's very, very good as well. So those are mine from that.
My turn is John Baptiste. John Baptiste in March released this album called We Are. And it's a really interesting mix of the things we're kind of calling neo pop or neo soul, but you also get almost like this really interesting spin on gospel as well. Um Especially with the song Adulthood featuring John Baptiste and the Hot 8 brass band. It's sort of mixing neo soul and funk into gospel in a very new way. I generally don't listen to like seek out gospel music, just like not particularly my genre. But the way all of those things are blended together, where like the refrain is gospel and then the bridge and the chorus start to get kind of like funky and soul sort of. The way he navigates through all of these different genres at a time when these genres are really coming back to the forefront in pop music to kind of, be exploited for another round of decade of music self-adulation. The way John Baptiste just weaved all of these things through, I think was phenomenal. Like I talk about Lucky Day being one of the like forefronts of bringing funk back. And I'm not going to say necessarily John Baptiste is that, or like his producers, all that stuff are that, but they did something really, really interesting here with the way all that stuff mixes. So yeah, the song I was recommending from that is Adulthood, but the whole record itself was really solid. And I think I got to consider it for maybe at least like the neo pop of the year because it was just a really so much to work with in that.
I definitely want to check that album out, and we were talking about it before in here too. So really looking forward to diving into that album when I have the time to. Next one for me is Flying Lotus with
Flying
Yasuke.
Mucus.
Yeah, right.
I know we're a little bit under the weather today, but like, come on.
Right, Flying Lotus, Yasuke. It's with the Netflix animated series about a black samurai. And Flying Lotus, is one of our favorite artists, one of our favorite experimental artists. He's been around for a long time. And it was really cool to hear him do a soundtrack on an animated series. And it was very, very good. The tracks are short, which makes sense in the setting that they're in, but some of them are very good in the way that they're done too. So you have like, you have Crust, you have Black Gold, which is another good one where you have that good experimental sound from Flying Lotus, but you also have him reaching into almost like a chill hop sound, which I haven't really heard him do. I've heard him like maybe like tease it here or there, but usually he like mix it up and splice it. But then you'll get like solidly chill hop tracks from him, which I haven't heard too much of. So really cool to hear him branching out in that. And in the context of the way it's done in the series too, it gets at that feel and everything in the series. It's good. So really cool to hear him do that, and I want to see him do more and more film, TV soundtracks and stuff for that, where I think he's one of those that he can really contribute and make something unique in the way it is too. It's cool. It's very, very well done.
Yeah, we only I think we talked about Black Gold as like a single thing. We just like skipped through it because of things being complicated. But
Yep.
I have said this a lot on Audioface, especially around the end of the year, that I want to spend more time doing film soundtracks. And maybe we actually would have done it in 2020 and 2021 if films were more accessible to go and see in theaters.
The only reason why for me is that I'm just now able to go. Like I just saw Dune in theaters last, and it's great because now like I can appreciate these more, because last year I couldn't really do anything because I didn't want to count it, but now I can get into these more, which is great. And something that I think needs to be talked about more with music reviewers and stuff in general as well, because soundtracks make up a ton of our music knowledge and our music heritage, and what also you can take from music soundtracks and other things, and you can put that into more mainstream things as well. So there's lots you could do with them.
Yeah, very well said there, especially about like soundtracks being a major part of like musical heritage culturally.
Mm-hmm.
My last pick will be Tems, If Orange Was a Place. This is her EP, and we've talked about Tems, and again, and also similarly like Brent Faiyaz, has just been featured on a lot of really cool collaborations that we've heard throughout the year. And so getting a project from her is really nice. The EP itself, If Orange Was a Place, is 5 songs, 18 minutes long. And it's one feature also has Brent Faiyaz Found, which I think we talked about as a single. But when you dig into the full thing, you're really just seeing Tems as someone who is like kind of on the cutting edge of this like alternative neo soul kind of. Now we're making so many different genres. It sounds like Spotify now, but like it's neo soul, but almost like underground in a way. It's not like the most like mainstream kind of thing, but the way it sounds, the way it's instrumentally put together, it takes all the right things from indie and alternative, but packs really good production, doesn't feel overly produced, but just still feels really nice. I liked Avoid Things, the 4th track on there, because it has its typical kind of slower, bassier kind of thing and feeling in it. But you really get to hear her voice, not just, because we hear a lot about good singers, but the way she pauses her voice and intonates a little bit is something that you're starting to see more in trap music, of course. But the way Tems does it just shows she has a really talented voice, not just with her range, but the way she thoughtfully moves and crafts her voice as an instrument throughout the song. That's just a sign of a really good vocalist to me, is when their voice is more than just, singing. It becomes an instrument in its own right.
And I think that's unique when you get that too. It's kind of like Yonzi with Sigaros, where Yonzi uses his voice as another instrument. And there's a couple of people who can do that, and it's very unique talent.
Yeah, Tems is going to be one to watch for this year, next year, all the years,
all the years. All right, next one. Last one, I should say. You have another Johnny Greenwood soundtrack, "The Power of the Dog," and this to me is really like right up Johnny's alley, where he like the two things he loves doing is like really beautiful piano ballads and stuff, and then westerns. So my favorite soundtrack from him is still "There Will Be Blood," and with "The Power of the Dog," it gets back into that Western feel. The movie is very intense. It's quite good, but it's also done on a book. If you know about "The Power of the Dog," I'm not going to say anything, but it's a good film. Go watch it. Benedict Cumberbatch is fantastic in it. I would say like a good track to listen to is 25 Years, the first one on the soundtrack, but within the film, it's very, very well done. It gets you that setting, and it's really nice to hear the way he likes to do strings, and he almost will deconstruct strings and do things differently and make it experimental, but still accessible to hear. You don't like with film soundtracks, you can get a little experimental with it, but you don't want it to be a distraction from the film itself. You want it to be, to help along the film. You don't want it to distract from the story or the acting or anything else or the setting in there as well. But with the way he does it in this too, it's very well done. With like towards the end of the film as well, it really gets to be prevalent on the soundtrack as well. So another one that if you can see it in theaters just to listen to it, it's great. Another good track is the They Were Mine. Again, more of those strings and stuff which he likes to use in westerns, which is fine. But overall, very impressed with it as well. So those are kind of my soundtracks of the year that I'm going to have a best soundtracks of 2021, which I want to start doing that more regularly. And I know Dan wants to do that more regularly too, where we go out and watch films just for that too.
No, help me keep me accountable with this. Let's start going to our favorite nondescript movie theater with the nice ass seats and get it cracking.
I want to butter my own damn popcorn.
Bringing my own alcohol into the movie theater that serves alcohol, keep it ghetto.